So this is our default and remedies part. Tenants' non-compliance with any of the covenants of this lease is a default. If tenants default, landlord has remedies legally permitted, including terminating the tenancy and declaring all remaining rental installments immediately due and owing. If landlord terminates the tenancy, or the tenancy of tenants pursuant to this section, tenant's duty to pay rent will continue. So there's a few other ones. A lot of that has to become with court, and it also goes through all renewals, lease extensions, and leases for future terms that landlord and tenants have excused. So this section here, I'll let you read through that one, is just about what happens if they default or remedy. A lot of that will still come into play with the Michigan state laws, which is a little bit of what's down here. So 24-hour written notice if tenants or household person under control unlawfully manufactures, delivers, possesses with an intent to deliver, or possesses any controlled substance on the leased premises. This also applies to anything which could be dangerous, hazardous, or a sorry about the train. This could be anything which is a police report or criminal. So if something is happening on the property which is criminal and there is a police report for it, then 24 hours written notice can be given to evict the tenant. For all fails to pay rent, or if they're damaging the property, so continuing physical injury to the property. So say for example you have someone who wants to shoot a gun through the wall or the roof or any other thing like that. Now there's a 7-day. Now given that shooting a gun, there may be more lawful things to the 24-hour notice. However, that would be a stance of physical injury to the property, because they're actually doing something which then could damage the property, and they're continually doing it. All other terms in this lease, if they break any other terms in this lease, then they're looking at the 30-day written notice. This is where we specify utilities here. So in this one, tenants will pay for electricity, tenants will pay for gas, tenants will pay for water and sewer, and I believe, I'll have to check with the township, but it should be in your taxes, but you, landlord, will pay for the trash removal. So this is a pretty nice one where tenant pretty much pays for most of it. This next part here is a pretty important part where it's late fees and dishonor checks. So tenant shall pay landlord a late fee of $25 when a rental installment is 5 days late. As you'll see on another piece of paper, which it's either here or it's the one I got to print out for you, it actually states in there that a payment is done from the time of deposit or the time of mail, not from the time of written check. So you get a lot of people who want to mail in a check and they say it's not my fault that it's late because the date on the check says the date that it was on time. It's like, no, the date that it was stated, that it was stamped from the post office, is the date that it was sent. So that is the date that counts as late. When a rental payment is more than 10 days late, partial payment of partial payment of the month's rent does not debate an additional late fee. Tenants shall pay landlords. So $25 as soon as they go over the 10 days, or they only pay a partial rent payment. Now, if there's a dishonored check or anything like that, then there's a $75 fee for the actual check being dishonored. That's to help you pay for any of the fees that the bank may charge you, which they often will, for any of those bounce checks. It also states on here that they'll be deemed additional rent and due on the next regular scheduled rental installment. So this means that it's not, once again, where things are paid on rent, where it goes to late fees and such like that first before it goes to rent. So their next rent payment will actually be increased by this amount. This is one of the ones, the next part, that I like a lot about these, and a lot of rental ones do not have anything like this. That if they're constantly late. So besides this, so if they're in addition to if they're late, if they're actually late more than 3 times in the term of the lease, so we're going to be doing a year. So if they're late more than 3 times in the term of the year, you can count them as chronic late, and you can actually then cancel the lease. Now you will come under the 30-day for that, because it's a breaking of the term of the lease, not for failure to pay rent. Security deposits. The tenants agree to pay landlord a security deposit before receiving possession of the premises. If there are multiple occupants or tenants, their security deposit is joint, and the occupancy of the premises is terminated when the last tenant or occupant. So basically, if there's several people there and one person leaves, then that does not mean that there has to be a refund of a portion of the security deposit. The security deposit is refunded at the last part. Sometimes it could be nice where, okay, if they put, like, maybe you want to talk to them, and maybe they want to give the tenant back their money so that it's paid off like that, but the security deposit does not change that you have. So there's a lot of security deposit laws. I'm going to give you a little booklet and a few things for that. So I won't go too heavily into the actual security deposit part of it, because I will go more heavily into that on another video, and with some supporting documents for that for you. You do have to provide where the security deposit is going to be held. So this just has to be a bank account, and the other document that we do will also elaborate that and have more on that, where you get to put name of financial institution. You don't have to give them the bank account number or that generally, but they do have to have the bank and the address. At this point here, I'm going to stop, as I have to go do a quick showing, and then we will return back to this shortly. Not that you'll notice, but it'll just be video number 3.